She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. Created by writer Stan Lee and artist John Buscema. She first appeared in the Savage She-Hulk #1 cover dated February 1980. Walters is a lawyer who, after an injury, received an emergency blood transfusion from her cousin, Bruce Banner, and acquired a milder version of his Hulk condition. As such, Walters becomes a large, powerful, green-hued version of herself. Unlike Banner, she largely retains her personality. In particular, the majority of her intelligence and emotional control. Like Hulk, she is still susceptible to outbursts of anger and becomes much stronger when enraged. In later series, her transformation is permanent, and she often breaks the fourth wall for humorous effect and running gags. She-Hulk has been a member of the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, Heroes for Hire, the Defenders, Fantastic Force and S.H.I.E.L.D. as a highly skilled lawyer who became a superhero by accident. She frequently leverages her legal and personal experience to serve as legal counsel to various superheroes and other metahumans. Walters made her live-action debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU) with the Disney Plus original series She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, 2022, portrayed by Tatiana Maslany. Publication history. She-Hulk was created by Stan Lee, who wrote only the first issue, and was the last character he created for Marvel Comics until his return to comics with Ravage 2099. In 1992, the reason behind the character's creation had to do with the success of The Incredible Hulk 1977 to 1982, and the Bionic Woman television series. Marvel was afraid that the show's executives might suddenly introduce a female version of the Hulk, as producer Kenneth Johnson had already done with The $6 Million Man. So Marvel decided to publish their own version of such a character to make sure that if a similar one showed up in the television series, Marvel would own the rights. All but the first issue of The Savage She-Hulk were written by David Anthony Kraft and penciled by Mike Vosberg, and most issues were inked by Frank Springer. Vosberg later remarked, "The oddest thing about that book was that Frank drew really beautiful women. I drew really beautiful women. And yet, the She-Hulk was never overly attractive." The Savage She-Hulk series lasted until 1982, where it ended with number 25. March 1982. She-Hulk then made guest appearances in other characters' books. Her earliest guest-starring adventures followed no specific storyline, besides her recurring bad luck with automobiles. She-Hulk also appeared in the limited series, Marvel Superhero Contest of Champions, June to August 1982. In which numerous superheroes are kidnapped from Earth to fight in space. She-Hulk becomes a member of the Avengers in Avengers number 221. July 1982. Her early Avengers appearances continued the running gag about her car troubles. She-Hulk also made occasional guest appearances in The Incredible Hulk. Her appearance in the Avengers number 233. July 1983, was drawn by John Byrne, who would later become strongly associated with the character. At the conclusion of the first Secret Wars miniseries, She-Hulk joins the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four number 265, April 1984. During She-Hulk's tenure with the Fantastic Four, she appeared in Marvel graphic novel number 16, The Aladdin Effect. Marvel graphic novel No. 17, Revenge of the Living Monolith, and Marvel graphic novel number 18, The Sensational She-Hulk. All 3 graphic novels appeared in 1985. The last, number 18, appearing in November 1985, was written and illustrated by then Fantastic Four writer, artist John Byrne. She-Hulk regained a solo series in 1989, The Sensational She-Hulk, maintaining the 1985 graphic novel's title. The Sensational She-Hulk ran for 60 issues. Issues number 1 to 8, 31 to 46, and 48 to 50 were written and drawn by Byrne. Byrne's She-Hulk stories satirized comic books and introduced She-Hulk's awareness that she is a comic book character. 2 issues tested the limits of the Comics Code. Number 34 makes reference to the 1991 Vanity Fair cover in which actress Demi Moore appeared nude and pregnant. She-Hulk's version has her holding a green beach ball to imitate Moore's pregnancy. In issue number 40, She-Hulk is depicted jumping rope, apparently in the nude, with her breasts and genital area covered by blur lines. The cover of the same issue shows her covering herself with a form sporting the lines "Approved." Comics Code. Other writers to contribute to this series include Steve Gerber, number 10, 11 and 13 to 23, Simon Furman, and Peter David. During the Sensational She-Hulk, the character continued making numerous guest appearances. In 1990, She-Hulk appeared in the 2-issue limited series She-Hulk Ceremony. The Sensational She-Hulk ran until issue number 60, February 1994, making it the longest-running solo title of any Marvel superheroine up to that point. After the cancellation of She-Hulk's second solo series, she continued making backup, one-shot, and team appearances in Fantastic Force, starting with issue number 13 in November 1995. The 1996 miniseries Doc Samson number 1 to 4, January to April 1996, Heroes for Hire number 8 to 19, February 1998 through the series finale in January 1999, and The Avengers. Her next major appearance was in the May 2002 one-shot titled Thing and She-Hulk: The Long Night. In May 2004, She-Hulk was given a new title and launched in a wave of 6 new Marvel books. Despite favorable critical notices, the new series could not escape the low sales numbers that the titles received from their initial cluster-style launch. Marvel brought the series to a close with number 12 and promised a relaunch of the title as a second season. 8 months later, the 8-month gap is alluded to in the body of the story itself. With the original creative team, Dan Slott and Juan Bobillo, from the previous series, the book returned 8 months later as promised in October 2005. The 3rd issue was billed as the 100th issue of a She-Hulk comic book, and had story art by numerous artists, including Vosberg. There was no new artwork by Buscema or Byrne, who were represented by reprints of The Sensational She-Hulk number 1 and The Savage She-Hulk number 1. Dan Slott's last issue is number 21. With 33 issues, Slott has written the most solo issues of She-Hulk. Peter David became the new writer with She-Hulk number 22. Marvel Comics announced that She-Hulk number 38, February 2009, would be the final issue of the series. Peter David commented on his blog that sales of the book were hurt due to discrepancies between his book and Jeff Loeb's Hulk series, caused by editorial error. "I didn't even know she was going to be in Hulk. Had I known, I probably would have done things differently. As it was, there were thousands of readers who were not saying, 'Gee, they're portraying her wrong in Hulk. Instead they were saying, why should we care about her hero's journey in her own title when she's obviously gotten over her hostility towards Stark over in Hulk? The mantle of She-Hulk is challenged by Lyra, the daughter of Hulk and Thundra, who is the lead character in All New Savage She-Hulk, a mini-series written by Fred Van Lente. She-Hulk appeared in FF by Matt Fraction and Mike Allred, which debuted in November 2012, an ongoing She-Hulk series. Written by Charles Soule and drawn by Javier Pulido. Debuted in 2014. It was revealed in October 2014 that Soule and Pulido's run of She-Hulk, which had the character facing off against Matt Murdock in court, would end with issue 12. Since May 2015, She-Hulk has appeared as one of the main characters in a Force, an all-female Avengers spin-off being launched by G. Willow Wilson, Marguerite Bennett, and Jorge Molina during Marvel's Secret Wars crossover. She-Hulk starred in the comic titled Hulk. Beginning December 2016, the series showed how she dealt with the trauma stemming from her cousin's death and the injuries sustained at the hands of Thanos. As fallout from the Civil War II event, she appeared colored gray, similar to Hulk's Joe Fixit persona, and there were great differences in tone from her previous light-hearted adventures. The title was cancelled with issue number 163 in March 2018. In 2022, She-Hulk returned as an ongoing series by writer Rainbow Rowell and artist Roge Antonio. The series returns to the light-hearted tone of the previous comics and focuses on She-Hulk's return to practicing law. Fictional character biography. The Savage She-Hulk. Jennifer Walters, the cousin of Bruce Banner, Hulk, is the small and somewhat shy daughter of Los Angeles County Sheriff William Morris Walters and Elaine "Nay" Banner Walters, who died in a car crash when Jennifer was 17. Operatives of Nicholas Trask, a crime boss who had crossed paths with her father, shot and seriously wounded her on the day that Banner visited her to tell her about his transformation into the Hulk. Since no other donors with her blood type were available, Banner provided his own blood for a transfusion, as they already shared the same blood type and DNA. His gamma-irradiated blood, combined with her anger, transformed Jennifer into the green-skinned She-Hulk when the mobsters tried to finish her off at the hospital. She then used her new powers to take down Trask, who was killed when the earth-boring device he rode malfunctioned, taking him to the center of the Earth. As She-Hulk, Jennifer possessed powers similar to those of her cousin, though at a reduced level. She also possessed a less monstrous, more Amazonian appearance. Initially, the transformation to her She-Hulk form was triggered, as with Bruce Banner's, by anger. Like her cousin Bruce, his counterpart, the leader, Doc Samson, and most other persons mutated by exposure to gamma radiation over the years. Her mutated form was originally explained as being molded by her subconscious desire to look like the ideal woman. She eventually gains control of her transformations when Michael Morbius cures her of a lethal blood disease. As a criminal defense lawyer, she defended Morbius in his trial for his vampiric killings, and managed to reduce the conviction to involuntary manslaughter, considering his medical condition. Eventually, Jennifer decides that she is going to retain her She-Hulk form permanently, preferring the freedom, confidence, and assertiveness that it gave her compared to her more timorous and fragile, normal form. After her brief solo career, she joined the Avengers. This led to her being transported to Battleworld by the Beyonder and her participation in the Secret Wars, most notable for sparking her long-standing rivalry with the newly empowered Titania. After the heroes returned to Earth, she temporarily replaced the Thing, who, having been repeatedly depowered during the event, opted to stay in Battleworld for some time as a form of soul-searching. As a member of the Fantastic Four, during her tenure with the Fantastic Four, She-Hulk met and started a romance with Wyatt Wingfoot. One day, she had to prevent a radiation leak in a downed SHIELD helicarrier. This radiation exposure had a drastic effect on Jennifer. She could no longer transform back into her original human form. However, this was an agreeable turn of events for her, since she preferred being She-Hulk. And it was revealed much later by Leonard Samson and Reed Richards that the block was purely psychological. Shortly after that, she appeared before the Supreme Court, where she battled Titania again, the sensational She-Hulk. After her Fantastic 4 years, She-Hulk rejoined the Avengers for a while. She became hypnotized by the Ringmaster into becoming a performer in the Circus of Crime, and battled the Headmen. With Spider-Man, she defeated the Headmen and became an assistant district attorney and began working for New York City District Attorney Blake Tower. Here she met Louise Wheezy Grant Mason, formerly the Golden Age superheroine the Blonde Phantom. She had a long series of unusual encounters, including when she battled Dr. Bong, first contended against Xemnu the Living Titan, encountered Nick Street Christopher, and encountered Spragg the Living Hill. Comet, the sensational She-Hulk number 15 introduced a gray version of She-Hulk that appeared at night only and shared a lot in common with the Hulk, such as having a childlike mind, speaking in the third person and divorcing from her Jennifer Walters identity. Referring to Jennifer as puny Jennifer, She-Hulk returned to normal in the following issue, with her green coloration returning in the sensational She-Hulk number 17. She-Hulk later discovered that Louise Mason had manipulated Tower into hiring her, so that Mason might again star in a comic book, and thus avoid dying of old age. Later, while doing legal work for Heroes for Hire, She-Hulk spent some time dating Luke Cage. After a time, She-Hulk returns to the Avengers. Repeated exposure to the presence of her teammate Jack of Hearts, who has the innate ability to absorb radiation that is around him, leads to She-Hulk being unable to control her changes, which resulted in her tearing the Vision in half. It is then revealed that all of the events were caused by the Scarlet Witch. Now, when she is afraid, she not only turns into She-Hulk but her mind becomes maddened by paranoia and rage. Jennifer flees, fearing that she will endanger her friends and others, leading to the Search for She-Hulk storyline. The other Avengers track her to the town of Bone, Idaho, where Jennifer is lying low, but the anxiety of being found prompts her to change, causing her to damage much of the town. Her cousin shows up but fails to reason with her. He hulks out, and the two fight, the devastation to the town subsequently being blamed on the Hulk. Psychological limitations inhibit her transformation between her two forms for a time, as detailed in She-Hulk number 4, March 2006. Jennifer works as a relief volunteer helping to repair Bone. She gains confidence after solving a murder mystery, reveals her green alter ego to the entire town, and then uses her strength to make many more repairs. This, combined with Leonard Samson's new Gamma Charger, gives her full control over her transformations for, as she said, the time being. JLA Avengers. In the DC Marvel crossover JLA Avengers She-Hulk first appears being brainwashed by Starro when the Avengers battle her, grabbing a startled Ms. Marvel, Carol Danvers, by her leg, before the latter blasts her away with her powers. She later assists the Avengers in the subsequent hunt for the 12 artifacts needed to trap the DC villain Krona, first battling Aquaman in Asgard, and later in the Savage Land with the rest of the heroes. During the final battle against Krona and his forces, she assists Wonder Woman in her battle against Surtur, and eventually appears at the end as one of the heroes that started out the entire event. Single green female. The events of the search for She-Hulk, combined with her own lack of personal responsibility and the potential legal ramifications of her saving the world swaying juries, leads Jennifer back to the legal profession in a more full-time capacity. When she was asked to practice law in the superhuman law division of the New York firm of Goodman, Lieber, Kurtzberg and Holloway, GLK&H. This offer is dependent upon Jennifer remaining human while she worked for the firm. While practicing at GLK&H, Jennifer gradually becomes comfortable as both She-Hulk and Jennifer Walters, realizing that she has much to offer the world in both forms during one of these adventures. She realizes her strength as She-Hulk is dependent on her strength as Walters and works out in her human form. Thus, she exponentially increases her powers as She-Hulk. Civil War. She-Hulk registered under the Superhuman Registration Act, and is a supporter of Tony Stark, Iron Man. However, as an attorney, she advised individuals on both sides of the Civil War. She agreed to file suit against Peter Parker for fraud on behalf of her father-in-law. Daily Bugle publisher J. Jonah Jameson. Her intention is to keep the suit tied up in the courts indefinitely. She is also the lawyer for Speedball in Civil War. Frontline. In She-Hulk No. 14. 2006. Clay Quartermain of S.H.I.E.L.D. informs Jennifer that she has been drafted into the organization. As a result of her registration, her mission is to fight various foes of the Hulk while training heroes under the initiative. She serves with the Hulkbusters, Clay Quartermain, Agent Crimson, Agent Cheesecake and Agent Beefcake. World War Hulk. Due to her involvement in S.H.I.E.L.D., She-Hulk derives a bit of information suggesting that the organization knows of her cousin's whereabouts. Anticipating a problem, Tony Stark has She-Hulk secretly injected with SPIN tech that transforms her to human form. Enraged, she tells Stark that, although he may have taken She-Hulk out of the equation, he still has to face Jennifer Walters, one of the best lawyers in the country. Jennifer informs Stark that he's miscalculated. She-Hulk would have just pummeled him, but Jennifer Walters has the ability to destroy him. On her way home, Jennifer runs into Amadeus Cho, a young genius out looking for friends of the Hulk. Cho, whom the Hulk once saved, discovered what the Illuminati had done to the Hulk, and he wants help in finding him. Cho temporarily restores Jennifer's powers so that she can take out Doc Samson, who came to apprehend Cho for Reed Richards and Tony Stark. Cho says he can permanently restore Jennifer's powers if she will join him, but she politely refuses, instead directing him to Hercules and Angel. During the World War Hulk storyline, a repowered She-Hulk assists in the evacuation of Manhattan. She tries to reason with her cousin, who has just destroyed Stark Tower during his battle with Iron Man. The Hulk warns her to leave, but she stands her ground. After she lands a punch squarely to his face, the Hulk smashes her into the ground, creating a crater around her body. As he moves on to his next confrontation, all Jennifer can say is, "God help us all." Jennifer is held captive with the other defeated heroes at Madison Square Garden, which the Hulk has converted into a gladiatorial arena. The heroes have been implanted with the same obedience discs that compelled the Hulk and his allies to fight one another during their time on the planet Sakaar. Jennifer returns to the law firm to work on suing Tony Stark for stealing her powers. She is subpoenaed to give a testimony in a case in which Mallory Book is trying to prove that their leader's criminal acts are the result of a shift of personality induced by his mutation, and an addiction to his gamma-irradiated powers, and that he thus cannot be held accountable for his actions. During her testimony, Jennifer realizes that she herself is addicted to being She-Hulk. Mallory forces her to admit that she has had a long list of sexual partners as She-Hulk. After the testimony, Pug appears and the two spend an evening together as friends, which cheers her up. She confronts Mallory the next day and tells her that she will put a stop to her leader case. However, it is revealed that the leader has been acquitted of his crimes. There is an apparent inconsistency between the She-Hulk and World War Hulk comics. In She-Hulk number 19, the leader is on trial in New York City, which is being cleaned up after the Hulk's recent attack. The action in the issue takes place during or after the events of World War Hulk. However, Jennifer appears as She-Hulk in the first and second issues of World War Hulk, during which the Hulk is destroying New York City. The discrepancy is resolved in She-Hulk number 20. Jennifer explains that Tony Stark temporarily disabled the nanobots to allow her to assist in the battle against her cousin, only to reactivate them when the battle was over. She amends her suit against Stark to demand the permanent deactivation of the nanobots. Post-World War Hulk. At some point after World War Hulk, Jennifer was brought before the Living Tribunal and asked to weigh her universe against a newer, better, Cosmic Trophy Wife version, described by Walters as an ultimate universe. Her universe wins, and she resigns from the magistracy. After the leader's trial, RT-Zix reveals himself as RT-Z9 and holds the main staff of GLK and H hostage while asking them questions at the behest of a group of aliens from a corner of the galaxy recently discovered by the Watcher Kaya. The aliens, called the Recluses, wish to keep their existence a secret. She-Hulk earlier decreed that Kaya not reveal knowledge of the Recluses' existence at the meetings of the Watchers. This had serious repercussions. It is revealed at the close of She-Hulk number 20 that an evil being has conquered that portion of the galaxy, and is preparing an assault on all of creation. Kaya, who holds knowledge of the plan, is unable to speak of it to anyone else. At She-Hulk's time trial, it was revealed that her actions made a destructive event called the Reckoning War possible. However, comments made by the future Southpaw divulge that the war, though a terrible and dark time, will be favorably resolved. A permanently depowered Jennifer Walters finds that tourists from an alternate universe, designated the Alpha Universe, are crossing into her universe, which they call Beta, to gain access to superpowers, and comes face to face with her own powered-up doppelganger. Jennifer confirms that her Alpha counterpart slept with the Juggernaut, but her anger quickly turns to sorrow as she realizes that without her abilities, the Alpha Jennifer Walters, while unfamiliar with superhuman law, is far better suited to life in the Beta universe. Realizing this, she decides that she will go to the Alpha universe and let the other Jennifer Walters take over for her. As she steps through the portal, Reed Richards realizes he can use the previously stored configuration of the Alpha She-Hulk to restore Jennifer's powers by purging the nanites from her body and setting the teleporter to loop her back to this reality. Having regained her abilities, Jennifer remains in her home reality, while the Alpha Jen Walters returns to her own universe and reconciles with her boyfriend, the Alpha Augustus, Pugliese. At an unspecified time after World War Hulk, She-Hulk assists Tony Stark with Emil Blonsky's murder investigation. While in Stark's helicarrier, she is attacked and beaten by the Red Hulk, who states to her that he's not Bruce. She-Hulk vows to get even for the deliberate humiliation. She later helps to prevent casualties in San Francisco after the Red Hulk caused an earthquake in the area, and assembles Thundra and the Valkyrie together to capture him, some months after regaining her abilities. Jennifer was tasked to defend an accused killer named Arthur Moore. While she was successful in defending him, immediately after his freedom was secured, he claimed to be guilty and showed her images of the crimes he had been accused of. Jennifer's horror at what she was being shown, combined with Moore's gloating, was enough to push her rage so far that she became the savage She-Hulk once again. She attacked him and threatened to kill him if he was not given the death penalty. She also told everybody within earshot that he was guilty and backed up her accusation by revealing privileged information. This resulted in her being disbarred. Jennifer later found out that Moore really was innocent. The images he had shown her had been false. It was also revealed, albeit not to Jennifer, that Moore had hoped to get her to react exactly the way she did since his employers wanted. She-Hulk disbarred for purposes as yet unknown. Unable to practice law anymore, Jennifer began working for Freeman Bonds Inc., a subsidiary of GLK&B, as a bounty hunter with her Skrull partner Jacinda. She was later recruited by Stark as a member of an initiative-sponsored incarnation of the Defenders for a short while until Tony Stark disbanded the team. Afterwards, she continued to aid team leader Nighthawk for a brief time until she was fully able to join the team on Nighthawk's request and that it would be away from the initiative. Together they have several adventures, even encountering Hercules, but they soon ended up involved in the midst of the Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion. During the Skrull takeover of Earth during Secret Invasion, She-Hulk and Jacinda hunt down a member of the Skrulls who functions as their religious leader. X-Factor initially impedes her progress, but they part ways on uncertain terms. She-Hulk and Jacinda capture the Skrull and the two heroines take the Skrull to New York, where they encounter the Super Skrull, K-Elliot. K-Elliot came to kill his daughter, Jacinda, going so far as to shoot her in the head. Due to her regenerative properties, Jacinda was still not fully dead. The Skrull religious leader wants to completely remove her regenerative ability, but K-Elliot stops him after She-Hulk pleads to his fatherly nature. Tapping into his guilt for not being able to save his son who had died in a previous war. Lady Liberators. Sometime after the Skrull invasion is defeated, the country of Maranma suffers a devastating earthquake. Because the victims of the earthquake are members of a minority religious group, the Maranma government has confiscated all humanitarian aid packages. And because of Maranma's strong ties to powerful countries such as Russia and China, other nations refuse to intervene for fear of sparking a war. She-Hulk and several members of the Lady Liberators secretly enter Maranma, intending to steal the confiscated aid packages and distribute them to the earthquake victims there. Winter Guard attempts to stop them, but gives up after seeing the plight of the earthquake victims afterwards. The U.S. government attempts to arrest She-Hulk for her actions in Myanmar, but drops the charges to avoid political embarrassment. With public opinion overwhelmingly in her favor, She-Hulk seems poised to get her legal license back when Jacinda is captured by the Behemoth after he mistakenly attacks her, thinking she is the real She-Hulk. Jacinda is then taken to a government lab and brutally experimented on when her ability to resurrect herself from the dead is discovered. Jacinda contacts She-Hulk telepathically through a secretly implanted mind-reading device and warns her that the government will be coming to question her about their relationship. Jacinda tells She-Hulk to say she did not know Jacinda was a Skrull, and just before going dead, unconscious, tells She-Hulk, "I've always L." She-Hulk tries to keep up the denial, but when she sees Jacinda about to be vivisected, she loses control and breaks Jacinda out. The Behemoth tries to stop her, but She-Hulk defeats him with the help of the Lady Liberators. Later it is revealed that Mallory Book, her former boss, was behind all the bad things happening to She-Hulk along with a group called the Fourth Wall. Yet when she saw She-Hulk risk herself to save her Skrull friend, Book cancelled the plan. Dark Reign. In the 4-issue miniseries All New Savage She-Hulk, Jennifer fights Lyra, the alternate reality daughter of Hulk and Thundra, after she comes to the Earth 616 reality for the DNA of the strongest man. While Jennifer and Lyra were fighting, Sentry tosses her away, believing the man Lyra is referring to is him. She-Hulk later returns, enraged, and pummels the Sentry into the ground. She then helps Lyra escape from Avengers Tower. MIA. In Incredible Hulk number 600, Jennifer tasks Ben Urich to discover the identity of Red Hulk. She informs him that she is unable to as she has asked too many questions to the wrong people. She has Urich bring a photographer, Peter Parker, and meets him along with her insider, Doc Samson, and they venture into a S.H.I.E.L.D. base that is actually a front for AIM and General Ross's Gamma Power Super Soldier program. Leonard Samson then appears to have a breakdown, but in reality he is changing into Samson. Samson claims to be stronger and faster, and is larger in size, has longer hair and a lightning bolt scar than Jennifer. The clashing duo are subdued by MODOK and the facility explodes in the aftermath of a fight between Red Hulk and Hulk. Jennifer, Samson, who has reverted to Leonard, and Red Hulk are caught in the explosion. Jennifer's status is unknown and Red Hulk does not reveal anything to Urich when the two meet a second time, while She-Hulk is MIA. The Red She-Hulk makes her first appearance where she claims Jennifer Walters to be dead. It was later shown in a flashback that Red She-Hulk prevented Jennifer Walters from escaping from AIM custody. During this battle, Red She-Hulk brutally beat Jennifer and snapped her neck with a cable. In the last panel, Jennifer Walters appeared to be dead with the Red She-Hulk standing over her body, though the Red She-Hulk claims she did not know her own strength. She then questions Doc Samson whether it was the real She-Hulk or a life model decoy, to which Samson answers, "You're here to follow orders, not to ask questions." Lyra later infiltrates the Intelligentsia, where she finds Jennifer in stasis. Following a brief fight with the Red She-Hulk, the three decide to team up to take down Intelligentsia's forces. Incredible Hulks. Following the defeat of the Intelligentsia, Jennifer begins traveling with her cousin Bruce, Scar, Korg, Rick Jones and Betty Ross. Shortly after the events of World War Hulks, Scar becomes aware that his brother Hiro Kala is approaching and that he intends to crash the planet Kaia into the Earth. She-Hulk is on the team as they manage to successfully avert disaster. Upon returning to Earth, they find the world in flames as it is in the grasp of the Chaos War. They journey to Hell, where they fight and defeat the Chaos King. Returning to a restored Earth, they are greeted as monsters. At some point before or after these events, Jennifer and Lyra settle in New York, where Lyra begins to attend high school in an attempt to gain an understanding of humanity as it occurs in this timeline, as well as helping to integrate Lyra into society. They are also involved in trying to round up the remaining members of the Intelligentsia. They manage to round up the Intelligentsia, but the Wizard is able to escape imprisonment and goes after Lyra at her high school prom, almost killing her before She-Hulk intervenes, knocking out Wizard but not before Lyra's secret identity has been compromised. The rest of the pupils turn on Lyra as a result of her prom date being injured and the endangerment of everyone at the dance. She-Hulk explains to her afterwards that they have to leave and that despite being heroes, the life of a Hulk is often lonely. Fearsome 4. During the Fear Itself storyline, She-Hulk joins with Howard the Duck, Nighthawk and the Frankenstein monster to form a 4-person team called the Fearsome Four to stop the Man-Thing from its destructive path. They later discover a plot by Psycho Man to use the Man-Thing's volatile empathy to create a weapon. Future Foundation. Prior to a time and multiverse-spanning trip by the Fantastic Four and family, the Thing asks She-Hulk to be a member of the Future Foundation. Doc Green. When the Hulk is elevated into Doc Green, a version of the Hulk possessing Bruce Banner's intellect, after he is treated for a shot to the head as Bruce Banner by use of the Extremis virus, he sets out to attack and cure other gamma-based mutations. Steve Rogers attempts to order the Hulk to stop before he goes after She-Hulk. But when Doc Green finally confronts her, he instead admits that he has come to recognize that he is coming dangerously close to the Maestro, as part of him enjoyed eliminating his rivals. Having decided instead to accept the eventual loss of his intellect as Extremis wore off rather than risk that persona emerging, informing She-Hulk that she is the only gamma mutation whose life he felt had been legitimately enhanced by her condition. Doc Green provides her with the last injection of his cure, asking her to use it on him if he goes too far in his efforts to stop an AI version of himself that he created and unleashed. Gwenpool. In Gwenpool's first Christmas special, Howard the Duck invited her to She-Hulk's Christmas party on the provision that she has not killed any good guys recently. She shows up and karaokes with Ms. Marvel. Also, there was a one-shot image of her holding mistletoe over her head and inviting She-Hulk to kiss her while Ms. Marvel looked on in girlish glee. There were dozens of superhumans in attendance, proving that whether she is acting as a hero or not, She-Hulk keeps strong ties to the super community. Civil War II. During the 2016 Civil War II storyline, after the Inhuman Ulysses predicts Thanos' arrival on Earth, She-Hulk was mortally wounded by a direct attack from the villain in question. When Iron Man learns that they used Ulysses' precognitive power to ambush Thanos, he vows to make sure that no one uses it again. Before She-Hulk goes into cardiac arrest, she tells Captain Marvel to fight for the future. After Hawkeye was acquitted for shooting Bruce Banner, Captain Marvel visited She-Hulk, who came out of her coma. When She-Hulk angrily demanded to know the verdict of Hawkeye's trial, Captain Marvel remained silent. Post-Civil War II. Following Bruce Banner's funeral, Jennifer Walters left the superhero business and continued to work as a lawyer, where she gained her first client, Maze Brune, who was an Inhuman descendant. Due to the stress following the fight with Thanos, Jennifer started turning uncontrollably into her version of the Grey Hulk at different intervals. Jennifer helped Maze when she was recovering from the trauma and being evicted by her landlord Mr. Tick. When Maze got impatient with Jennifer and summoned a fear golem that killed Mr. Tick and some police officers, Jennifer is nearly killed by it and transforms into the Hulk. She defeated the fear golem and prevented Maze from committing suicide when Maze was arrested for reckless endangerment afterwards. Jennifer transformed into the Hulk and met the Hellcat. After changing back, Jennifer told the Hellcat that she was worried over the fact that her grey color could mean that she is like Bruce, since Bruce also had a grey incarnation. Later, Jennifer was watching a live video on the internet when a baker named Oliver turned into a Hulk-like creature on camera. Jennifer spent several days trying to track him down, eventually confronting him as the Hulk at the Brooklyn Bridge. During the following battle, she lost control of her Hulk persona, almost killing him, though the Hellcat managed to calm her down. However, the incident left Jennifer worried about losing control again. Sometime later, the leader kidnapped Jennifer and forced her to transform into the Hulk in order to force her to kill his new assistant, Robin, who willingly went through a blood transfusion in order to become a Hulk-like monster herself. The Hulk nearly killed Robin, but Jennifer managed to regain control. Before defeating the leader by electrocuting him, Jen then went with self-help writer Florida Mayer, who used a special pill to transport Jennifer to her subconscious, leading her to confront her Hulk persona and illusions of Thanos and Banner, finally overcoming her trauma in the process. Upon waking, Jennifer reverted to her standard green She-Hulk persona. During the war against the Kotati, She-Hulk is revealed to have been killed and replaced by a Kotati, attacking the Avengers when they tried to negotiate a truce with their new enemy. The heroes only surviving the attack thanks to the Invisible Woman's force field. Although the Kotati, She-Hulk then beats down the Thing and retreats. Invisible Woman, Mantis, and Thing are locked in combat with the Kotati-possessed She-Hulk. Back in New York, Jo-Ven and Incala release their positive memories, which revives She-Hulk enough to break the Kotati off of her and to stop the fighting between the Kree and the Skrull. When the Kotati are defeated, She-Hulk and Thor take Sequoia away. It turns out that She-Hulk was able to return to life thanks to Leader, who has mastered the way to control the Green Door. Characterization, powers and abilities. A transfusion of gamma-irradiated blood from her cousin Bruce Banner, the Hulk, granted Jennifer Walters superhuman powers. In her She-Hulk form, she possesses enormous superhuman strength that potentially makes her the physically strongest known woman in the Marvel Universe when her emotional state is sufficiently high. Although She-Hulk's strength originally remained at a set level and did not increase. Later in her history, her strength has sporadically been stated to increase further from fear or anger, similar to her cousin. In addition, the character possesses superhuman speed, agility, stamina, and reflexes. As She-Hulk, Walters is exponentially stronger than she is in her Jennifer Walters form. Therefore, any extra strength gained as Jennifer Walters through intense physical training will be amplified, making her She-Hulk form even stronger. After being defeated by the champion of the universe, She-Hulk exercised for several months in her Jennifer Walters form, resulting in a significant gain in strength and muscular mass in her She-Hulk form and allowing her to soundly defeat the champion in a rematch. At this time she was able to effortlessly sustain the Thing's maximum weight with a single arm. While her strength was greatly restrained by a Jupiter suit, and she was shown as considerably stronger than Hercules. Similarly to her cousin, her powers can also greatly increase by absorbing radiation. She-Hulk received a power upgraded from Essen, the Celestial, and became more powerful than ever before, far surpassing Captain Marvel and other characters in strength. A Kotati-possessed She-Hulk nearly killed the Thing with her bare hands and punched through the Invisible Woman's force field without even noticing Susan Richards's efforts to protect her teammate. She-Hulk's body is superhumanly durable and nearly impervious to force, pain, and disease. Her skin can withstand extremes of temperature, as well as tremendous stresses and impacts without puncture wounds or lacerations. Her enhanced physiology renders her immune to all terrestrial diseases. She-Hulk also possesses a healing factor, which enabled her to completely recover within minutes from a skewering by the Wendigo. Unlike Hulk, Jennifer's personality and intelligence are less affected when she transforms into She-Hulk. Although she becomes more self-confident and assertive, in court it was proven that her gamma mutant form also has fewer inhibitions, as proven during a trial for the leader. For example, while Jennifer Walters has only had a few sexual partners, reading back a list of She-Hulk's conquests took considerable time. For a long time, She-Hulk could not revert to her original human form, but that turned out to be psychosomatic due to her not actually wanting to. Due to training from the alien ovoids, She-Hulk is able to swap powers and physiques with other human women, but retains her green skin pigmentation, and only used it once. Due to the Hulk's wish, Jennifer can now switch between her human and Hulk forms at will, for a time. Thanks to a hex cast by the Scarlet Witch, anyone who wished She-Hulk harm could not recognize her as Jennifer. But harmful side effects forced Jennifer to seek the assistance of Doctor Strange to remove the hex. She-Hulk is described as a living gamma bomb and is capable of accidentally causing huge explosions, beyond what even Hulk can produce. She described herself as an Omega-level threat, and claimed the Starbrand is one of Earth's inherent defense systems, sorta like me. After apparently being killed by a mysterious magical ritual, a Kotati-possessed She-Hulk blasted the Thing nearly unconscious. The shock-wave of the same blast sent the Invisible Woman and Mantis flying. Even though both of them were protected by Sue's force field, the strain made Sue's nose bleed. She still maintains mental contact with Essen, the Celestial. She is capable of absorbing great amounts of energy, and used this ability to absorb the uncontrolled energy of the new Starbrand. Skills. She-Hulk is a formidable hand-to-hand combatant, having been trained by Captain America and Gamora. Even in her Jennifer Walters form, she possesses sufficient skill in the martial arts to dispatch several would-be muggers much larger than she is. She once displayed sufficient knowledge of acupressure to render the Abomination insensate by striking several nerve clusters after first using psychology to distract him. She-Hulk is also a skilled and experienced attorney who attended the UCLA School of Law, where she was a member of the Order of the Coif, a national merit society for top legal scholars. She-Hulk had performed legal work as a member of the magistracy, who had the power to compel her to adjudicate cases anywhere in creation. She ceased to operate in this function after successfully adjudicating the merits of her own universe to continue existing, opposed by the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Before the Living Tribunal, she is a skilled pilot and has previously used a modified 1995 Dodge automobile equipped with technology enabling flight in Earth's atmosphere and in outer space for limited distances. Although it is incapable of interstellar flight. Personality. The character's personality has changed over the decades since her first appearance. Originally ill-tempered and violent, she is now depicted as a fun-loving, kind, empathetic, yet still feisty woman who frequently uses humor when fighting. She has stated that she does not want to kill her foes, especially ones which she has already subdued. She has also started and led her own disaster relief organization, and felt great remorse for almost destroying a small town, due to her transformed state briefly turning uncontrollable from radiation, whereupon she helped construction workers to rebuild it. As a highly idealistic lawyer, the character has a history of defending the rights of minorities, the mentally ill, civil liberties, including the right for criminals to not be unduly mistreated and get a proper defense, or individuals to not be victimized by certain less ethical corporations, but also a belief in the necessity of law and order. These priorities have sometimes made her personally conflicted, such as reversing her stance regarding the Superhuman Registration Act, and being disillusioned when her more famous cousin, whom she considers as a brother, was shot into space without due process, or when what she thought to be a torturer and murderer of children was cleared from all charges. In an interview, former She-Hulk writer Peter David describes her as follows: She-Hulk has the potential to be our Wonder Woman, a powerful female with a strong moral center and a determination to do what's right. She's also a unique combination of brains and brawn. The ideal She-Hulk story is one that plays on both aspects of her makeup, the intelligence combined with her strength, breaking the fourth wall. For a time, starting with the sensational She-Hulk series by John Byrne in 1989. She-Hulk was portrayed with a form of cross-dimensional, or metafictional awareness to break the fourth wall. In some stories, she showed an awareness of being a comic book character, with visuals of her tearing the page, or walking through a page of advertisements to reach an enemy's control center. She sometimes engaged in arguments with the writer, John Byrne, or appealed to the comics editor, Renee Witterstetter. The sensational She-Hulk number 50, Byrne's last issue, involved Renee locking a bound and gagged Byrne in a storage closet while she and Jen tried to find the book's new writer. This trend was briefly carried on during her tenure with the Heroes for Hire, when she spoke to the book's narrator and fired him for losing the plot. Other Marvel characters that have been written to directly address the audience include She-Hulk's friend Louise Mason, You Are to the Watcher, who narrates a majority of the issues of What If by speaking directly to the reader, and Deadpool. On occasion, this practice has also been used for Loki, Rick Jones, Wyatt Wingfoot, and Howard the Duck. The latest series has not acknowledged this primarily humor-based quirk of She-Hulk's, save for a coda in Volume 2 Number 3, Number 100, in which Stu Cicero, a law firm researcher, asks Jen if she can really do stuff like that. She somewhat wistfully replies, "No, I can't." However, the panel is drawn at a somewhat ambiguous angle that suggests She-Hulk may be looking out of the Comic at the Reader. She-Hulk's most recent profile in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe continues to list this ability of hers, and confirms that she is simply downplaying it for the benefit of those around her. The Dan Slott series took a different approach to the metafiction angle, making use of a concept dating back to Lee and Kirby's early Fantastic Four, that the heroes of the Marvel Universe permit licensed comic book adaptations of their adventures to be published. Since all comics published before 2001 bear the seal of the Comics Code Authority of America, a federal agency in the Marvel Universe, they are considered legal documents admissible as evidence in the superhuman law cases on which She-Hulk works. If She-Hulk defeats Deadpool as the final opponent in Marvel vs. Capcom 3: Fate of Two Worlds, she will say, "You know, if this game were made in 1991, I'd be the one whacking you with a health bar." This references Deadpool's fourth wall-breaking hyper move, where he attacks the opponent with his own life bar, as well as the character's rise in popularity in recent years. In the game's update Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, if Deadpool is her first opponent, before the match starts she will claim that she can break the fourth wall as well. If she defeats him as her last opponent, She-Hulk will threaten to beat him in Marvel vs. Capcom 4 if the game is ever made. Relationships. She-Hulk's relationships with men have been defined by her dual needs for independence and acceptance. These needs were evident in her often tempestuous relationship with her father, Sheriff Morris Walters, a widower whose wife had been killed by mobsters. Walters was overprotective, controlling, and judgmental. In response, Jennifer sought independence from her father, while also desiring his acceptance. Sheriff Walters felt that the best way for Jennifer to live was for her to follow his values. However, Jennifer grew up perceiving the gray areas of law enforcement. For example, she interpreted the events leading up to riots which occurred during her childhood differently from her father. Although Jennifer saw her decision to become a criminal defense attorney as a kind of homage to her father, Sheriff Walters instead interpreted her choice to defend criminals as a rejection of his values. Jennifer worked at nurturing a supportive relationship with her father, and remained close to a childhood friend, Zappa, with whom she ultimately became romantically involved. Being She-Hulk allowed Jennifer to express emotions which she was not otherwise comfortable revealing. For example, although Jennifer Walters was restrained from dating a younger man, as She-Hulk she felt free to express her affection for Zappa. During that same time, Jennifer pursued a problematic relationship with the affable ne'er-do-well Richard Rory, a supporting character created by Steve Gerber for the Man-Thing stories, who actually valued her for who she really was. Ultimately, She-Hulk's relationship with Zappa fell apart, primarily due to her insistence on permanently remaining in her She-Hulk form, eschewing the Jennifer Walters persona that Zappa had grown up with. Zappa believed that Jennifer's preference represented a rejection of the character's true self. Although in actuality She-Hulk liberated much of Jennifer Walters' repressed personality, the She-Hulk persona also repressed certain aspects of Jennifer Walters' personality which She-Hulk found distasteful. During her time as an Avenger, She-Hulk engaged in a relationship with Starfox. However, this encounter was later retold in flashback. And in that storyline, Starfox was on trial, charged with sexually assaulting a married woman. The alleged victim testified that Starfox's euphoria power had forced her to be sexually forward. Similarly to She-Hulk's own encounter with Starfox, Jennifer assumed that her interaction with Starfox had not been consensual after hearing this testimony, but she later discovered that he had not used his powers on her. It was also during her Avengers tenure that she met and became fast friends with her teammate Janet Van Dyne, who would become a huge influence on She-Hulk's personal development by encouraging her to adopt a more free-going lifestyle, and even help her in times of need. When the Wasp was temporarily killed by the Wrecking Crew during the First Secret War, She-Hulk impulsively stormed off to avenge her, only to nearly fall victim herself to the Wrecking Crew, the Absorbing Man, Titania and Dr. Octopus. She-Hulk was briefly engaged to the younger Wyatt Wingfoot, whom she first met during her tenure with the Fantastic Four. She let her guard down with Wyatt, expressing her vulnerabilities as Wyatt supported her during a series of traumatic events. A paparazzo took photos of her sunbathing topless, but nobody ultimately knew it was She-Hulk due to an unwitting editor correcting her green skin. Later, corrupt agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. forced her to strip naked and be medically examined as a potential threat like her cousin. This was all filmed for personal arousal purposes, before Dum Dum Dugan put a stop to the harassment. Although She-Hulk put forward a brave exterior during those incidents, she was actually quite shaken and appreciated Wyatt's support. Although She-Hulk deeply values close emotional ties with family, friends, and lovers, she seldom admits the depth of her need for these attachments. For example, years after her mother died, Jennifer could not move on from the family home. Even when her father moved out, Jennifer would not leave her family memories behind. The Avengers and Fantastic Four became surrogate families for her. She forged strong bonds with them. She-Hulk was married to John Jameson, whom she first met while he was the Man-Wolf in a Microverse adventure in The Savage She-Hulk. The two precipitously eloped in Las Vegas. The two shared an apartment with She-Hulk's colleague, Augustus "Pug" Pugliese, who holds an unspoken, but obvious, crush on her. Pug correctly deduced that both the suddenness of She-Hulk's strengthened feelings for Jameson, as well as the pair's marriage, were the result of manipulation by Starfox. Due to his efforts to prove this, She-Hulk and John became aware of Pug's crush just as John was forced to become the Man-Wolf once more. She-Hulk's passion for John has cooled since Starfox's love zap was removed. However, John was never zapped, and his deep love for Jennifer Walters has been confirmed. John has stated a preference for She-Hulk in her human form. She-Hulk's reaction to John as the Man-Wolf, the Star-God, has not been positive. The marriage has been annulled. She-Hulk had a date with Power Man while both were on the Heroes for Hire team. She resisted dating an ex-con, but after a scuffle with Titania and the Absorbing Man where Cage aided her, she reconsidered. The relationship never developed, but a friendship between them was formed after Jennifer broke up with John Jameson, but before he signed the annulment. She had flings with Clay Quatermain and Tony Stark, and even made a pass at Wolverine. Wolverine rebuffs her, saying he has no wish to chase after Juggernaut's sloppy seconds. She-Hulk repeatedly vehemently denies sleeping with the Juggernaut, as a wanted criminal who has attempted to murder her cousin. Despite the two previously being shown in bed together, it is revealed that the Juggernaut had, in fact, bedded a She-Hulk from an alternate universe. An out-of-continuity tongue-in-cheek mini-chapter later spoofs this by jokingly showing the two characters as passionately in love. Perhaps her longest crush is on Hercules, about whom she has repeatedly dreamt. However, after fighting demons together, she rebuffs Hercules' advances, seeing him as a muscle-bound oaf. After Hercules jovially smacks her bottom, She-Hulk sends him through a brick wall, and says she will relegate the idea of a relationship with him to fantasy, as she finds the reality disappointing. Despite this, years afterwards they eventually sleep together. She-Hulk has many friends in the superhuman community, most of whom showed up for her Christmas party in the 2015 Gwenpool special. Costumes. Due to her affiliation with different supergroups over the years, She-Hulk has donned numerous costumes. She-Hulk's personality has also gone through significant changes, from aggressive and short-tempered to intelligent, free-spirited, and vivacious. Because of her various outfit changes, no single costume can be considered iconic, compared to Superman's blue and red tights, or Spider-Man's red and blue costume and mask. However, She-Hulk is immediately recognizable due to her size, green skin, and long, dark green, almost black hair. In her first appearance, She-Hulk was a massive, towering figure, with wild, untamed, waist-length hair. She wore a ragged white dress or blouse, the dress ripping and tearing as Walters turned into her giant alter ego. That white garment, which was often only the blouse that Walters had on before her transformation, always covered her upper body and midsection, in the same way that enough of the Hulk's pants survived to cover him after his transformations. When she was asked about this in an early issue of the second series, Jennifer responded that her clothes carry the label of the Comics Code. After her Savage era, She-Hulk wore appropriately sized clothes. For instance, she joined the Avengers and began dressing in a one-piece aerobics outfit. During the Avengers era, she wore a purple, one-piece swimsuit with a white belt and boots. After the first of the Secret Wars, She-Hulk took the place of the Thing and became a full-fledged member of the Fantastic Four. Her costume kept the sleeveless, legless leotard design, incorporating the colors and style of the team's costumes, with a 4 prominently displayed across her chest and white gloves and boots. After leaving the Fantastic Four, she rejoined the Avengers, donning a white one-piece costume with the blue Avengers insignia emblazoned on it. She-Hulk has then worn a purple and white one-piece leotard, complemented by fingerless gloves and sneakers. Her hair is long and straight, as opposed to the thick, curly tresses she sported in the past after the events of World War Hulk. She has added baggy low-rise jeans to this look. Reception. She-Hulk was ranked as the 18th greatest Marvel Comics character by Comic Book Resources, and is the 104th greatest comic book character of all time by Wizard magazine. IGN also placed her as the 88th greatest comic book hero of all time, stating that plenty of heroes have gained female sidekicks over the years, but few of these ladies have so capably managed to escape the shadow of their namesakes as She-Hulk, and 18th in their list of the top 50 Avengers. Ugo Networks also placed her as one of the top heroes of entertainment, stating that, if nothing else, she has proven to have a longer shelf life than Spider-Woman, who is also in no way a cheap marketing ploy. She-Hulk was ranked 11th in Comics Buyer's Guide's 100 Sexiest Women in Comics list. Other versions. Earth Channel. She-Hulk is seen as one of the last few Avengers fighting the entity called Charnel. It had been tormenting her 2020 Earth for decades. She had spent 2 of those years partnered with the Rhino. She is killed in action during the defeat of Charnel. Earth-X. In the Earth-X series, Jennifer Walters is killed while being possessed by the Hydra. The resultant being becomes a Hydra Queen. Future Imperfect. In Maestro's alternate future, Future Imperfect, Jennifer is called Shulk and her partner is Emil. The two combine forces to fight Maestro, but are continuously defeated. Marvel Heroes. A teenaged version of She-Hulk appears as one of the main protagonists of Marvel Heroes, an all-ages series written by Grace Randolph. In this continuity, she is the best friend of Janet Van Dyne, and is unaware that she possesses superpowers. Marvel Zombies. In the Marvel Zombies universe, She-Hulk is seen exiting Avengers Mansion already zombified. She is later seen being restrained by the Thing after eating Franklin and Valeria Richards. The Invisible Woman then proceeds to create a force field inside She-Hulk's head, effectively killing her and also obliterating her zombified body. Ultimate Marvel. In Ultimate Marvel, Jen Walters is introduced in Ultimate Wolverine vs. Hulk after being mentioned by her cousin Bruce. In Ultimates 2, Dr. Walters works for S.H.I.E.L.D. performing super soldier research and development in the vein of her cousin, resulting in a Hulk-like transformation without the rage. Betty Ross would later become She-Hulk in the same series. She is later contained by S.H.I.E.L.D. after stealing a vial of the serum. Old Man Logan. In the Old Man Logan reality, She-Hulk and a gamma-overloaded Hulk had an incestuous relationship and gave birth to a hillbilly clan of super-strong but dim-witted Hulks called the Hulk Gang. In the pages of the Old Man Logan comics, it was revealed that She-Hulk assisted Daredevil and the Moon Knight in fighting the Enchantress and Electro in Manhattan. The part with Hulk impregnating her remains intact sometime after that fight. Spider-Gwen. In the Spider-Gwen continuity, She-Hulk is a famous wrestler who came to Gwen's high school and challenged audience members to a wrestling match similar to Crusher Hogan of the main continuity. Unlike Crusher, she offered to donate the money to charity if she lost. Gwen was prepared to fight She-Hulk in her first week as Spider-Woman, but got distracted when a robber threatened Ben Parker. While Ben and Gwen dealt with the robber, She-Hulk lets the Mary Janes defeat her so she could donate to the charity. In other media, television, She-Hulk appears in The Incredible Hulk, 1982, voiced by Victoria Carroll. She-Hulk was intended to appear in the made-for-television film The Death of the Incredible Hulk, but did not make the final cut. A year later, a proposed She-Hulk series for the ABC network was considered dead. She-Hulk makes a cameo appearance in the Fantastic Four episodes To Battle the Living Planet, and Doomsday. This version is a member of the Avengers. She-Hulk appears in The Incredible Hulk, 1996, voiced by Lisa Zane in the first season and Cree Summer in the second season. She appears as a guest character in Season 1 before becoming a main character in Season 2. Which led to the series being renamed The Incredible Hulk and She-Hulk. In the latter season, She-Hulk is shown to enjoy an active sport-filled life to show off her strength and agility and will revert to her human form if she pushes herself too far for extended periods of time, with an adrenaline rush allowing her to change back. She-Hulk appears in the Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes episode, The Cure, voiced by Rebecca Shoichit. After Ben Grimm is reverted to his human form, She-Hulk auditions to replace him in the Fantastic Four and maintains the position until Grimm changes back. She-Hulk appears in the Superhero Squad show episode, So Pretty When They Explode. Voiced by Katie Sackhoff. She-Hulk appears in Hulk and the Agents of SMASH. Voiced by Eliza Dushku. This version is a stunt pilot and a member of the titular team. She-Hulk appears in the Ultimate Spider-Man 4-part episode Contest of Champions. Voiced again by Eliza Dushku. Film. After 2 television projects for She-Hulk failed to materialize. A live-action motion picture was planned in the early 1990s. With Larry Cohen as writer and director. 10 months later, Bridget Nielsen was announced to play the title role. She posed for photos dressed both as She-Hulk and her alter ego Jennifer Walters. But the movie was never completed. Jennifer Walters appears in the animated film Marvel Knights. Ultimate Wolverine vs. Hulk. Voiced by Nicole Oliver. Marvel Cinematic Universe. Tatiana Maslany portrays Jennifer Walters in the 2022 Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney Plus series. She-Hulk. Attorney at Law. This version is accidentally cross-contaminated with Bruce Banner's blood following an attack by a Sakaran scout ship instead of intentionally getting a blood transfusion from him. In November 2019, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige said that there are plans to feature She-Hulk in future MCU films following her introduction in the She-Hulk television series. Video games. She-Hulk appears as a playable character in Fantastic Four. Doppelgangers of She-Hulk appear as enemies in Marvel Superheroes. War of the Gems. She-Hulk appears in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. Voiced by Alicia Coppola. She appears as a mini-boss in the anti-registration campaign and a playable character in the Nintendo DS version. She-Hulk appears as a playable character in Marvel Superhero Squad. The Infinity Gauntlet. Voiced by Cree Summer. She-Hulk appears as a playable character in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Fate of Two Worlds and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Voiced by Maria Canals Barrera. She-Hulk appeared as an unlockable playable character in Marvel Superhero Squad Online. Voiced by Gray Delisle. She-Hulk appeared as an unlockable playable character in Marvel Avengers Alliance. She-Hulk later becomes one of the Serpent's worthy Skirn. She-Hulk appeared as a non-playable and playable character in Marvel Heroes via the Advance Pack 2 DLC. Voiced by Mary Faber. She-Hulk appears as an unlockable playable character in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Voiced by Tara Strong. She-Hulk appears in Marvel Pinball as part of the Infinity Gauntlet. Civil War and Women of Power tables. She-Hulk appears as an unlockable playable character in Marvel Avengers Alliance Tactics. She-Hulk appears as a playable character in Marvel Avengers Alliance 2. She-Hulk appears as an unlockable playable character in LEGO Marvel's Avengers. Voiced by Misty Lee. She-Hulk appears as an unlockable playable character in Marvel Future Fight. She-Hulk appears as an unlockable playable character in Marvel Contest of Champions. She-Hulk appeared as an unlockable playable character in Marvel Avengers Academy. She-Hulk appears as an unlockable playable character in LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2. Voiced by Melly Bond. She-Hulk appears as an unlockable playable character in Marvel Puzzle Quest. She-Hulk appears as a purchasable outfit in Fortnite Battle Royale. Collected editions. The Savage She-Hulk. The Sensational She-Hulk. She-Hulk. She-Hulks. One-shots. References. External links. She-Hulk at the Marvel Universe Wiki. She-Hulk on Marvel Database. A Marvel Comics wiki. She-Hulk at the Superhero Database. De Bleek. Augie. March 31, 2009. Looking back at the sensational She-Hulk. CBR.com.